Hello, everyone. Welcome to Baseball Chat. Today, we're going to go over the historic superstars. Benji happens to be a pro at this, so I'm going to give him a call.
Hey, Joseph.
So, Benji, you are a baseball historian. Please walk us through who are the best players of all time.
Gladly, Joseph. I believe leading off shortstop, a lot of fans might be surprised I didn't put Derek Jeter, but Honus Wagner as the shortstop. Now, this man, 3,420 career hits, a career 328 batting average, an on base percentage of 391, and an OPS of 858, 723 stolen bases. This man, a lot of you probably don't haven't heard of him because he played over a century ago. He was the cornerstone for the Pittsburgh Pirates in their early stages of the game. He also at one point had the most expensive baseball card sold at auction. His Honus T. Wagner card sold for, I believe, $1.5 million. I want him as my shortstop leading off the game. Number two, I'm going to go with the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, who spent all but 2 years of his career with the Giants from New York till when they moved over to San Francisco. And this man finished 7 hits shy of 3,300. He had 3,293. He had an unbelievable 660 career home runs, which I don't understand how, especially when he was playing in the Polo Grounds for the first 7 years of his career, he had that many. He also had a career batting average of 301, an OBP of 384, and a 940 OPS. Now, batting third, I will admit to a little bias here in Lou Gehrig, the original Iron Man, who had the most games played with 2,130 before Cal Ripken Jr., who I'll talk about a little bit later, but he would have hit 500 home runs in his career. Unfortunately, ALS, which is now known as Lou Gehrig's disease, took over, and he wasn't able to finish his last year of his career. He ended up with 493 home runs, 1,995 RBIs, so also 5 RBIs short of 2,000, but he had an unbelievable batting average of 340, an on-base percentage of 447, and a career OPS of 1,008. I know people might say Albert Pujols. I will see him as the second man for first base. And now this one will be controversial, and I can't wait to hear what some of you say. But I'm having Barry Bonds batting fourth. Now, yes, I know all about the steroid scandal and all of that, but from 2001 till 2004, there was no man, even Babe Ruth, was not walked as much as Barry Bonds. In 2004, he was walked 232 times, and he was also walked with the bases loaded. They would rather force a run in than have to pitch to Barry Bonds. That's how feared he was as a hitter. He ended his career with 762 home runs. I know, very controversial. If I'm talking an all-time list, I'm having Barry Bonds in this all-time list. He also ended his career with a 298 batting average, 444 OBP, 607 slugging percentage, and a 1,051 OPS. This man, from 2000 to 2004, the most feared hitter in baseball. Now, the guy who's going to bat after him, he used to be the most feared hitter in baseball, George Herman Babe Ruth. He was sold to the Yankees for $125,000, and that's when their dynasty started. That's when they became like the New York Yankees. And obviously, everyone, if you're a fan, you all know his 714 home runs. In a few years, he out hit entire teams, not just led the league in home runs. He out hit entire teams for home runs. He did hold the AL record of 60 home runs until Roger Maris in 1961, and then until Aaron Judge last year. He ended his career with 2,873 hits, 2,214 runs batted in. He had a 342 batting average, 474 OBP, and he also is the leading player in OPS with 1,164 OPS to end his career. That is just how insane Babe Ruth was. You can't have a lineup without it. Now, batting behind Babe Ruth, the man who first broke his record, Hammer and Hank, Henry Hank Aaron, whatever nickname you want to call him, he was the best hitter on the Braves from the 50s till the early 70s. And he was one of the best hitters of all time. He actually ended his career with the most RBIs of all time with 2,297. He did have the home run record until Barry Bonds with 755. He had a batting average of 305, an on base percentage of 374, and an OPS of 928. And actually, even though he had less home runs than Barry Bonds, he ended his career with the most total bases in all of baseball history with 6,856. This man was just a machine, and he will be playing. I've forgotten to say where these players are playing. So Lou Gehrig got first. Then we have Barry Bonds is in left. Babe Ruth will actually be the DH. Hamlin Hank is in right field. And playing third base will be Michael Jack Schmidt, longtime Phillies third baseman, 3-time MVP winner, multiple time Gold Glove Award winner. I think he won close to 10. He did win exactly 10 Gold Gloves, and he had a career home runs of 548 with 1,595 RBIs. He did not have the best average. He was more known as the prototypical hit a home run or strike out, as he did lead the league in strikeouts 4 times in his career. But even with leading the league in strikeouts, he would also get on base at a very high clip. So even though he had a career 267 batting average, he also had a career 380 on base percentage. And he also had a career 908 OPS to go along with his 3 MVPs, 10 Gold Gloves, and 6 Silver Sluggers. Now, next up on our list is going to be catcher Johnny Bench. And he was the catcher for the big red machine in the 70s that won back-to-back World Series, beating the Red Sox and the Yankees in 75 and 76. He was a 2-time MVP. And up until Mike Piazza took the home run lead away from him, he did lead all catchers in home runs with 389. He was, again, your more prototypical hitter back in the 60s, 70s, where it was more you either hit a home run or get out. So he only had a batting average of 267, but he also did have a 342 on base percentage. And like I said, 2-time MVP. He was a rookie of the year. Probably would have won a few more Silver Sluggers if they were not introduced late in his career. But also for defensively, I don't want another catcher, as he was a also 10-time Gold Glove catcher. So both offensively and defensively, he has the full package of catcher. Now for second baseman, I was kind of arguing with myself a little bit. Me and Joseph were going about this one. In the end, I wanted a pure hitter, someone who just gets on base, will slap some singles, hit a few home runs when needed, but that's not his main strength. I want a guy to get on base. I want to play, Moneyball style. If you can't get on base, you can't score. So Rod Carew, my second baseman and batting ninth, he scored 1,424 runs because he would get on base at a clip of almost 400 with a 393 on base percentage, a 328 batting average for his career, and an 822 OPS. Like I said, not a home run hitter, but when you have the top 3 home run hitters in baseball history in Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Barry Bonds, and then you have Willie Mays, who's 6 in baseball history, you don't need so many more players to be hitting more home runs, as he only had 92 in his career. So that rounds out the lineup, the starting lineup. Now for the bench, you want to have a great catcher backing up your starter, and as a Yankees fan, no one better than Yogi Berra, 10-time World Series winner, from the 40s to the 50s, and just one of the best defensive catchers of all time as well. Unfortunately, they did not have gold gloves back back in the day, but I'm sure he would have probably won at least 10 gold gloves if they did. He was a three-time MVP. He ended his career with a 285 batting average, 348 base percentage, and 830 OPS. And actually, before Johnny Bench came along, he did have the lead, the most home runs for a catcher with 358. He also had 1,430 RBIs. Really can't go wrong with him backing up your catcher. Now, the next one will be controversial. We'll discuss that in a later episode. Pete Rose, the hit king of MLB. You can't not have him on an all-time list. He has the most plate appearances in MLB history with 15,890. He has the most at bats with 14,053. And I will explain the difference between the plate appearances and at bats, because you can be up at bat, but if you are walked, then it doesn't count as a plate appearance, and neither does it doesn't count as an at bat, and neither does a sacrifice fly. That's why he has so many. He would slap the ball the other way, hit it to where they weren't. He didn't hit for power often, as towards the end of his career, 6 home runs combined from 1980 till when he retired in 1986. Not a home run hitter, but a lifetime 303 batting average, 375 on base percentage, and a lifetime 784 OPS, along with 160 home runs, 1,314 RBIs, and 198 stolen bases. He was nicknamed Charlie Hustle for a reason. Now, I want a backup outfielder. Pete Rose could play in the outfield as well, but this guy, if it weren't for his injuries, I firmly believe he would be the home run king in baseball, and that is Ken Griffey Jr., who spent the majority of his career between the Mariners and the Reds, with about a year on the White Sox. That's it. Not even a full year, spent half a year on the White Sox. But with the Mariners, he was known as just the kid, and he won one MVP in 1997 again, and he was playing during the steroid era. Not even a mention of steroids with him. He was just that great of a player. Gold Glove awards, he won 9 in a row. Gold Gloves. He unfortunately never won one with the Reds, as his injuries earlier on in his career prevented him from doing much better later on. But he still, even with all those injuries, he still ended up with 630 home runs, 1,836 RBIs, a career 284 batting average, 370 on base percentage, and 907 OPS. I was actually lucky enough to watch him play against the Mets in their old stadium, Shea Stadium, and he hit a 2-run go-ahead home run against them. So that for me was great to watch. Now, rounding out my bench, I want the Iron Horse, Cal Ripken Jr. I mean, there's not much else you're going to say about him. 630 consecutive games played. He would not come out of any game. Didn't matter. He was staying in the game. Two-time MVP winner. He was a Rookie of the Year award. He won a ring with the Orioles back in 1983, his only one. And from 1983 to 2001, he did not miss an All-Star game. He was always there. And towards the later part of his career, he became a third baseman. And this is what I like about A-Rod. In the 2001 All-Star game, he made Cal Ripken Jr. go over to shortstop to play one more inning at his natural position. So that was something I had really liked. And Cal Ripken Jr. ended his career with the tie with 431 home runs, which is the most home runs as a shortstop. Alex Rodriguez actually tied him with 365. We'll see who can surpass either of them. But he ended his career with a 276 average, 340 on base percentage, and a 788 OPS.
Well, Benji, you did a great job taking us through the best hitters of all time. But what about the pitching?
So, pitching for me, I want this man, Nolan Ryan, as my ace, as the starting pitcher. Unfortunately, he never won a Cy Young Award, which I find incredible that this man ever did, especially when one year he had a 1.69 ERA, led the league. But back then, they were more concerned with wins than they were with ERA. But he also threw 7 no hitters in his career, which is the most by any pitcher of all time. The next closest one is Justin Verlander, and he's not passing. And if you want a guy to just not give up anything, Nolan Ryan ended his career with 5,714 strikeouts, the most strikeouts by any pitcher by a wide margin. Now, if they had proper radar guns back in the day, his probably would have been like 110 to 115 mile per hour fastball. That's how fast he threw it. You couldn't see it, couldn't hit it. 5,714 strikeouts. He was also a little bit wild, as he does have the most walks in baseball history with a 2,795, 324 wins, 292 losses, with a 3.19 ERA. And he has 20, but he also has 222 complete games, which nowadays you're not going to see that nowadays. And like I said, he was never lucky enough to win a Cy Young Award. I would love to have him be number one on my list. Now, second on the list is Randy Johnson. Arizona Diamondbacks got him for the best 4-year stretch, arguably the best 4-year stretch of any pitcher in baseball history. As 4 straight years from 1999 to 2002, he was the Cy Young Award winner, an All-Star. He had ERAs of 2.48, 2.64, 2.49, and 2.32. He gave up less than 2.5 runs a game for 4 years straight. He also has 4,875. I would definitely want Randy Johnson. Pedro Martinez, longtime Yankee rival. 1999 and 2000, he was the best pitcher in the AL, and he ended his career with a 219 wins, 100 losses, 2.93 ERA, and 3,154 strikeouts. Played out of his mind. And now the second best lefty on the list, Steve Carlton of the Phillies and Cardinals. He played from 1965 to 1988. He did have the most strikeouts for a lefty until Randy Johnson came along with 4,136. He ended his career with 329 wins, 244 losses, and an ERA of 3.22. And to round out the starting pitching will be Greg Maddux. He would not blow any hitters away. He was more, hey, you know what? I'm going to get this two-seamer on the outside corner to get you out. I have my changeup. He just diced you up with slow pitches that they couldn't hit because they're placed so precisely. He ended his career with 355 wins, 227 losses, with a 3.16 ERA, 3,371 strikeouts. Played primarily on the Braves, but also with the Cubs, Dodgers, and Padres. So that to round out my starting pitching. Now, who would I want to come out of the bullpen? An old man, Christy Mathewson of the New York Giants. A lot of people probably won't know about him, but he had 373 wins in his career with only 188 losses, an absurdly low 2.13 ERA, 2,507 strikeouts. And he also later became the manager for them. So this guy, one of the greatest pitchers to play. Also, out of my bullpen, Sandy Koufax, who had quite possibly the best peak of any pitcher in baseball. As from 1961 to 1966, he won 3 Cy Young Awards. He won an MVP, which not many pitchers have won an MVP. He won 25, 26, and 27 games in 3 of those seasons. He ended his career with a 2.76 ERA, 165 wins, 87 losses. Would have had more. Unfortunately, he got injured. He couldn't do much more. And he had just under 2,400 strikeouts. Now for middle relievers, John Smoltz, part of the Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine pitching of the 90s for the Braves. He was a starter turned reliever, and he was also like Maddox in a way that he wouldn't necessarily blow pitch by you, but he would throw precisely. As he had 213 strikeouts, 213 wins, 155 losses, 3.33 ERA, 3,473 innings pitched, and he only had 1,010 walks in his career, and just over 3,000 strikeouts with 3,084. Now, next up is going to be Old Yankee. Like I said, little bias. Old Yankee in Goose Gossage of the 1970s, who helped them win the World Series in 77 and 78, a 9-time All-Star. He was a little wild, as I believe he did have 732 walks in his career. He also had an ERA just over 3 of 3.01, and he also in 1,809 and a third innings, he had 1,502 strikeouts. Back in his early career, he was phenomenal, would just blow 100 miles per hour right past. Now, next up, not your typical long reliever or middle reliever, Bob Feller. This man he had a 266 wins, 162 losses in his career with a 3.25 ERA. For those of you who don't know, he won the Triple Crown for pitching, and the Triple Crown for pitching is leading the league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. So that is the Triple Crown for pitching, which he did back in 1940 and actually came in second in the MVP race that year. And now for the setup man, you can't go wrong with the man with the second most saves in baseball history in Trevor Hoffman, the most until Mo, which I'll talk about him in a little bit. But he ended his career with 601 saves with a 2.87 ERA, and in 1,089 and a third innings, he had 1,133 strikeouts. For the Padres, he was arguably their best reliever ever until Josh Hader came along. And next up, as the setup man, Lee Smith, who a lot of people might not remember, but he had the most saves in history until Trevor Hoffman, and then Mariano Rivera broke that with 478 saves. He ended his career with a 3.03 ERA, 1,289 and a third innings pitched. He struck out 1,251 batters. He played for a lot of different teams, most notably the St. Louis Cardinals. And now you cannot talk about the best bullpen in history without having the best closer in history, Mariano Rivera, as your closer. He has the most games for a reliever with 952. He ended his career with a 2.21 ERA, which is insane. 652 saves in his career. In 1,283 and two-thirds innings, he struck out 1,173 batters, and he did it all on one pitch, the cutter. Everyone knew it was coming. It didn't matter. One pitch into lefties, away from righties. Everyone knew it was coming. You could not hit it. Staple of the Yankees, core four of the Yankees. That rounds out the starting pitching and the bullpen.
Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today on Baseball Chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
For the rest of the season.